How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We appreciate you guys tuning in once again, and we're going to hop straight into the videos today. So the in-season tournament group stage has came to a close, and we now finally know the teams for the quarterfinals games coming up. And we're kind of going to go through ahead, and I'm going to name the games that are coming up, and we're going to predict the outcome of this bracket. So starting off with the West in the quarterfinals, we got the number 1 seeded Lakers versus the number 4 seeded Suns. I think this is going to be a pretty solid game. Already starting off with the bang, but these teams did meet earlier in the in-season tournament, and the Lakers did come up with the W in Phoenix. They will be playing in LA this time around. I think I'm gonna go with the Lakers on this one. They've been pretty hot recently, and they were 4-0 in the tournament this year. So I'm gonna go with the Lakers. But what do you guys think?
I'm going to go with the sole fact that it just seems like the Lakers and LeBron, everybody is going hard for this tournament. Like we've seen a lot of NBA teams and a lot of these players turning up a different level, and these games have been very competitive. And for those reasons, I'm going to go with the Lakers. They were 4-0, and I just think you said they're at home, right?
Yes, it will be in LA.
Yeah, so I think that's going to play an advantage too for them, and so that's why I'm going to go with LA.
I'm going to go the same here. No surprises here. Lakers, I think even before the tournament, I said we're just going to want it a little bit more because it's an excuse to say, hey, we won something and then not win in the finals. But the Suns are playing really good right now, so they could surprise us, I think. But yeah, overall, I think that the Lakers are just playing a little bit better, and I think that they want to win this tournament a little bit more, whereas the Suns, I think, should be looking at that kind of mindset of we're going to win the championship this year, not so much this placeholder trophy, I guess you could call it.
I'm gonna go the Suns. I was actually surprised that all three you took the Lakers. I thought at least one of you would take the Suns, but the offensive firepower of Katie and Booker that we've seen these last few games is they're coming in. They're on a hot streak. What's their win streak right now? They got like what, 6 games, 6 game win streak, something like that. They're
They
they're
are on a
hot
nice
right
little
now.
streak.
They're hot right now, and I think just catching their stride. I'm gonna take the Suns, but Grayson Allen's out, so you never know.
AD's
I'm just
been
worried
hooping
about
too.
I'm worried about Phoenix's defense a little bit too. I don't think they have enough power in the paint to hold back LeBron and AD. They do have Nurkic, who again, I don't really think he's enough, or whoever their backup center is. What's the name of their backup center? That goofy
Uh,
dude.
fuck, what is his
Oh,
name?
Dang, bro.
Eubanks.
Eubanks.
Yes,
Andrew
Eubanks.
Eubanks.
I don't think Eubanks and Nurkic are enough to hold AD. But then again, AD has been pretty inconsistent this season. But the Lakers have been playing very well when it comes to the in-season tournament. So I just feel like the paint is just going to be too much to hold for the Suns. So that's why I feel like the Lakers will come on top. But it will be a very close game. I do believe.
Just to throw it out there, Nurkic has been rebounding the ball crazy lately. In the last game, he grabbed 10, 11, 12. He's been boarding up. Not saying that's gonna make a huge effect, but I think a lot of people will point to the boards being a problem for the Suns, but Nurkic has been putting in the effort. So maybe not as easy as everyone thinks it will be.
No, it definitely won't be easy, but 10 boards for a 7-foot center to me is pretty standard. But moving on to game 2 in the Western Conference,
Enter Brooklyn.
we got the second seeded Sacramento Kings playing the third seeded New Orleans Pelicans. I'm 100% go for the Kings on this one. Ever since they've gotten Deer and Fox back, this team is just kicking it into a whole nother gear. They just came back from a big lead last night in the last stage of group stage games against the Warriors when they were pretty much down by double digits the whole entire game. And they didn't even need to win yesterday either. All they had to do was not lose by more than 11 points. If they won, obviously they advanced. But if they lost by more than that, they were out. So the fact that they were able to kind of face that adversity against the Warriors, I definitely think that they'll beat the Pelicans. Plus, Pelicans are dealing with some injury as well. And Zion has been a little disappointing to start the season. And I don't imagine that he'll have a great game in the paint against Sabonis. So I'm taking Sacramento on this one.
I'm also going to take Sacramento just before everyone else does too. I think this one is a lot more clear cut than the Lakers versus Suns. The Suns, I think, do have a really good chance of winning that game out. Whereas in this case, I don't see a world in which the Pelicans have enough answers for the offensive powerhouse that is the Kings right now. And like Kevin said, I mean, anytime that you're able to win out against the Warriors, I think it's just a good sign of what's coming next, especially over the course of the last few years. So yeah, I'm gonna go Kings too.
I'm also going to go Kings here. Kevin, I disagree a little bit with Sabonis giving Zion problems in the paint. Sabonis
Not what I
last
said.
night. What did you say then?
I said I don't think Zion will be able to have a dominant game against. I was trying to insinuate that I don't think Zion will be able to have a dominant game against Sabonis in the paint.
Okay, so Sabonis giving problems to Zion. Thank you. Like I said.
It's not problems,
Anyway,
but we can continue.
anyway, we'll move on. So Zion, I don't think Sabonis was pretty much a non-factor last night against the Warriors, and Zion's one of the best paint scorers in the league, and I don't think he's necessarily going to have problems, but I am going to take the Kings here. I do agree that Zion has been a bit disappointing. He's not quite where he was at his peak years in the last couple years, but I don't know. I think the Kings win last night was huge for them. I think they needed that. So again, riding the hot streak, I'm gonna take the Kings.
All right, before I give my pick, why are you guys saying Zion's been like a little bit disappointing? I feel like he's not doing terrible.
I mean, he's not doing terrible, but the expectations that he has coming into the season. I mean, this guy's already been an all-star and averaged 27 and 8 in his season that he was an all-star, and he's not really performing that well. He's getting a lot of turnovers. He looks kind of slow out there. It seems like he hasn't really lost the weight. So to me, I'm not saying he's playing bad because he has had good games, but he hasn't lived up to the expectation that he had set for himself this season.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't think he was playing terrible, but I agree he's not living up to like that hype. But for my pick, I'm gonna go with the Kings too. I just don't think the Pelicans are as strong as the Kings all around. I think the Kings have a little bit of a better bench as well, and that's why I'm gonna have to go with the Kings. But I do think it's gonna be a close game.
Yeah, I definitely feel like both these quarterfinal games for the West are going to be very good games. And the semifinals are going to be very good too, regardless of who comes out. So we will be coming back to that next week for you guys, or the week after, because next week is when the games play. But moving on to the quarterfinals of the East NBA in-season tournament, we have the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks against the number 4 seeded New York Knicks. I hate to say this one's a given because the Knicks are going to fight till the end, but it just might be a given. Damian Lillard has been on an amazing hot streak recently, and the Bucks have been winning games. So I think I'm going to ride with Milwaukee on this one. I'm kind of predicting Julius Randle to put up another tour date with his field goal shooting numbers. But the Bucks will have problems defending the guard play of the New York Knicks. They give up, I believe they're top 5 in giving up the most amount of points to opposing guards on other teams. We do know they have Jalen Brunson, who's been playing very well recently. But I think ultimately on top, the Knicks won't have enough to compete with the Bucks in the paint. So I'm going to go ahead and take Milwaukee on this one.
I'm gonna go with the Knicks on this one. I think the Bucks, they're a great team, but I think where they're gonna lack the most in is rebounding. I think Knicks have one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA, and then also defensive wise, I think the Knicks are a little bit better defensively than the Bucks. But with those two being said, I think that's going to help them win these games and have that edge over the Bucks. And I think they're going to want it a little bit more than the Bucks. It seems like the Bucks still are kind of figuring everything out. I think that's why I'm going to go with the Knicks.
I think Victor just wanted to be different. I'm gonna go. I'm just kidding. No, I'm gonna go with the Bucks on this one. I think Giannis will most likely have either a double double or triple double, and Damian Lillard will probably hit a game winner. If that comes true, I'm a hero. If it's wrong, sue me. But yeah, I do definitely think that the Bucks are probably going to come away with this win. Probably sound like a little bit of a broken record, but and we'll talk about it in a second. I think the gap between the Bucks and the Knicks is a little bit further than the gap between Boston and the Pacers, and we can get into that in a second. But yeah, I do like just the Bucks overall more in that matchup.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say Vic was trying to be different because I'm actually taking the Knicks too, for a lot of the same reasons that he said. I think that the rebounding issue with the Bucks is bad. And it's funny how you have the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year and Giannis on the same team, and their defense is lower ranked than the Knicks right now. It's a little concerning. And one thing I did want to point out, Vic pretty much covered everything I would say, but one thing I want to point out is a lot of these Bucks games are going down to the wire, and they're with like teams that they should not be going down to the wire with. For
Like that
example, like
Portland game.
Portland, Detroit went 120 to 118, Brooklyn 129, 125. We saw what happened with Miami last night. It's it's a little concerning, but I don't think the Bucks have quite figured it out yet. In 2 months, if they played this game, I'll probably take the Bucks, but I think the Knicks are going to take this one.
Sure. Yeah, we've talked about that at the beginning of the season too, especially when that Dame trade was made, or when that Dame trade was made. They really lacked on their perimeter defense, especially losing Drew Holiday and then picking up Damian Lillard, who can most of the time be non-existent on defense. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough game, but we had a good 50-50 split there. We haven't had that yet, talking about this bracket. So we'll see who's right and who's wrong. But moving on to the second game in the Eastern Conference, we have the number 2 seeded Indianapolis Pacers versus the number 3 seeded Boston Celtics. This one could be a toss-up. Now, the Celtics are obviously way better than the Pacers, but the Pacers are playing pretty hot right now. Definitely not going to shut down the Celtics. I believe they're going to approach this game like they have every other game, and let's just see if we can outscore them. But that's been working against other teams such as, who they beaten this year, Orlando, whoever. I don't believe that is going to be the case with the Boston Celtics. They have way too much defense out there, and they probably have the best defensive trio out there in the NBA, to be honest, with Tatum, Brown, and Drew Holiday. I do believe they have the best defensive trio out there. And outside of Tyrese Halliburton, I don't believe anybody on the Indianapolis Pacers will be too hard for anybody on the Celtics to contain. So I'm going to go with Boston on this one. But they are playing in Indy. But still, I'm going with Boston on this one.
And to go against KD's point of offense, that is the best defense. I do not think with the Pacers having the best offense in the NBA that they're going to be enough to take down the Celtics. The Celtics have already played the Pacers this year, and they blew them out by 50 points. And I do not think the Celtics are one of the best, if not the best team in the NBA, offensively and defensively. I just don't think the Pacers have enough to stop them.
I'm gonna take a different side here, and I actually am gonna say that I think the Pacers could pull it off. And let me explain why and try to articulate my reasoning here because it's mostly just off of feeling, right? Matchup wise, on paper, Boston should be able to just run through this Pacers team relatively easy and get to the next round. But I think that the in-season tournament will in some way become the new 2K curse, 2K cover curse. It'll become the new Kylie or Jenner curse or Kardashian curse, whatever it's called. In that, I think that for the next few years, the team that wins these in-season tournament will probably not win the championship. And when someone finally does do it, it'll be all over the place and they'll make a big deal out of it. Stephen Curry is officially the in-season and regular season championship. Who knows? But my point is that for whatever reason, I just have a feeling that the teams to watch in these series are the teams that you don't think will win a championship. And I can't, again, I said I would try to articulate that, but like when I look at the Lakers, right, I see them as a team to watch to win this in-season tournament, but I don't see them as someone to watch when it comes to the championship. I still think there are other teams that will beat them out for that. And then the same thing goes with this Pacers team. I think the Celtics are more of a contender for the championship. And even though logic would tell you you should just go with them, I'm going to go off of my own intuition and say that the Pacers might pull it off and win.
I was gonna say, my heart almost dropped when Vic said he was gonna be different because I thought he was gonna take the Pacers, and then my heart did drop when Daniel decided to take the Pacers because that's insane. considering they've already beat them by 50, and you're not going to outscore one of the best offenses in the league that can also play defense. I don't think there's a lot to be said here. I think the Pacers are hot, but I think the Celtics are the best team in the league. So I'm going to take the Celtics. Porzingis is out though. I think he'll be out still by the time this game happens, but not much to be said. I'm going to go Boston. Also, wait, forgot to mention, Boston is taking this in-season tournament like seriously, as we saw with shooting the last second shots, and then Tatum comes out and says that it's disrespectful to shoot a last second shot, and then his team goes and hacks a Drummond up 30 last night. So that was a bit concerning, but they're definitely taking it serious, and Missoula definitely is conscious of how this tournament works. And if you're gonna hack a Drummond with a 30-point lead, I think it is disrespectful, but I'm gonna say that they're definitely taking it serious too. So don't underestimate them. I don't think anyone is besides you though, Daniel.
I mean,
To be honest.
I'm not underestimating them. Like I said, if they win, it'll be no surprise, right? It's something that's expected. So to me, if they win that, great. But I want this to be on record. I am saying if the Celtics do win the in-season tournament, they will not win the championship.
I kind of believe in that curse. I for some reason I get a
Don't
feeling
buy
that
in.
it's gonna. No, I feel like, bro. I was gonna say I'm glad he said that because I kind of believe in the curse too, dude. Like, honestly, bro, I think I'm leaning towards the Lakers winning this whole thing because I think this is like big for them for some reason, and I don't really see them as like they're like a second tier contender. So if Boston wins it, I think it's a curse. I think they won't win the chip. So I kind of want them to lose. That's a gut feeling.
I think
To
it's gonna
me,
be
the
a.
Lake
I think it's gonna be a LA versus Boston in season tournament. I think the NBA wanted that really badly last year, and I think
The script.
this is how
Yeah.
they're gonna get it.
I see
A
it
Boston
as
LA in season tournament championship game would draw attention to a lot of views because then it's going to be the race for whoever has the most in season tournament championships and NBA championships. That's definitely what's going to be chased. Because, like Vic said, that's definitely what the NBA wanted last year for the NBA Finals was the Boston LA Finals, but that went the way it did.
Imagine how much hardware you could theoretically pick up now in the NBA. Like you could have the greatest season ever. MVP, in-season tournament championship, and in-season tournament MVP because that's coming.
The Eastern Conference MVP or like the conference MVPs.
Eastern play
Holy shit!
in Eastern Conference in-season tournament MVP.
Why not?
Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Isn't there a playoff? No, there's no playoff MVP. No, but Finals MVP, regular season MVP.
There was a bubble MVP. Didn't they give that to Lillard? Did Lillard win
Yeah,
that?
Lillard won it.
Hey,
Yeah,
everyone
that's true.
says he only has Rookie of the Year, but what about bubble MVP? Don't forget
that's a-
bubble MVP.
That's a here, man. Here.
Bro, this is
Yeah, the GOAT debate in the future is going to be so hard to measure. Practically anybody that played before this current modern era is basically going to be cooked in the GOAT debate. They'll be like, oh, Jordan didn't have no NBA in season in tournament MVPs or even the championship. So, yeah, this 30 years from now, the GOAT debate is going to be cooked because all this other hardware shit, like Daniel mentioned, is just going to be thrown in there.
It's just going to inflate. Yeah. It's going to inflate our expectations.
It really is.
I'm surprised they don't have a second place NBA championship trophy coming out soon. Seems like the league, like after Daniel said that shit, I was like, damn, NBA is soft as fuck now. So,
bro, I'm surprised no one has brought up the clutch player of the year trophy yet. There's a clutch trophy too.
Yeah.
No, I hated when they added that. They added that just because of Lillard, in my opinion.
Hey, Michael Jordan doesn't have a clutch trophy.
He doesn't.
And everyone says he's the clutchest of all time. Explain,
No clutch MVP or no clutch
My
awards.
My point about the debate right there. But yeah, the Celtics do have the highest odds out of all the teams in this tournament to win the championship. And I feel like most people are going to take that gamble. So,
I did want to say something before we move on. To me, the Lakers winning the play-in tournament is like your high school winning regionals. It's like, hey, yeah, we did. We got halfway there. Let's go. But and then next year
Dude,
you can say you did something. Like, oh, we went to regionals. We got to regionals. You guys go to
And
state?
everyone
No.
everyone looks at
We
you
never
like
got out of regionals.
everyone looks at you all funny, just as they should look at the Lakers for winning the in-season tournament.
And then they're gonna have their Letterman with the regionals.
the in-season
Dude,
tournament's probably going to be compared to like in-season participation trophy at one point,
Yeah.
depending on how the team that wins it does, like for the remainder course of the season and how far they make it into the playoffs. Shit, if they even get in. So yeah, it could be like a big plus or just a very big minus when you measure a team's success for the season.
Yeah.
All right, how long do you guys think the in-season tournament's going to last in the NBA? Because like the way it's going, I think it's going to be a long time. I think they might even keep it forever, but I don't know.
I was
I mean,
I was
they've
gonna
already
say a long
introduced it, so
time.
like a point. Would there even really be a point for them to take it away now? Maybe if they like mod it, like they obviously through that as the years go on, they're gonna modify and change it in various different ways. But it'd be kind of hard to keep it going for 10 years, and all of a sudden there's gonna be like, oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore. It brings in a lot of attention, obviously, with the courts, the jerseys. Players take it serious. There's that 500K reward for every player on the team, so we're going to be seeing the in-season tournament for a while.
Credit to Adam Silver because I didn't think the 500K was gonna make these dudes hoop, but it is. They're playing. It's fun to watch.
I like the tournament. I think it's gonna be around. I think the atmosphere it creates is huge for watching the games. Like the Heat Bucks game last night in Miami, that atmosphere was nuts.
It was a crazy
Um,
game.
on the other hand, I'm not saying this because I'm a Celtics fan and you guys are Bulls fans, but the Celtics game actually had a pretty shitty atmosphere, which sucked because it was just such a blowout. But usually the Celtics games are pretty high intensity too.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Boston.
same with the Nuggets. The Nuggets, since they're champions, like just the atmospheres, I feel like it just the connotation of in-season tournament make just gets people hyped. And I think it makes the games funner to watch. And I think that's what the NBA's intention was with adding it. Gives like a playoff atmosphere for a regular season game. The
And
Kings too. Obviously the Kings, like the beam.
Yeah.
That game was nuts too.
So do you guys think that they'll ever get rid of the awards like in the in-season tournament and just make it like a tournament like perspective and whoever wins just gets 500K? Because personally, like you guys said, I think the awards are too much. Maybe like an MVP and a championship along with it. I think it would just be cool for the 500K.
It's just another, like Daniel said earlier, another piece of hardware to add. If you're going to have a tournament, might as well have a tournament MVP. Maybe make the players compete a little bit more.
I kind of think the players are playing for the trophy more than the money because they already get paid so much. I feel like they're playing for that trophy. And I think going forward, it might be a decent way to like boost your resume in the future. Obviously, this is the first season, but like 20 years down the line, an in-season tournament trophy might be the difference maker between two players with similar stats. That's a prediction. I'm trying to tell the future, so like it might not go that way, but there's a chance it does. So I'm kind of for the trophy.
so
Daniel's from the future. Let's hear what he says.
no, dude. Okay, because you brought up a lot of good points, Mike. One of which being that first of all, I don't think that these guys are really playing for that trophy. I don't think they even know what they're really playing for right now. We've seen it all over the league. Coaches, players, everyone's really kind of confused as to what's going on. There's a little bit more of an element of understanding now, obviously. But without seeing what that champion or what winning that whole tournament looks like, I don't think anyone really understands what they're playing for. They're really just kind of, I think, being competitive, which is great. The other thing that you brought up, which is that this gives players opportunities in the future. Great point. Because to me, when I think about how long this NBA season is and how we've discussed injuries and how, you know, I don't, I'm like kind of jumbling everything together here, but when we've talked about how players over the course of a long season. In some cases, it's good for them, but in other cases, I think it's not great, and I think it does pose a higher risk for injury. So, with that being said, I've seen it all the time in the past few years where an NBA player is having a great season, and right after about the All-Star break or sometime in between December and the end of the season, they have something that goes wrong. Then maybe they start bumming it out. Who knows? But I think having this early tournament kind of gives a lot of players an opportunity to really shine and to show how good they are. To your point of Victor that you made of the hardware issue and all that, I think that with these NBA players, a lot of them are, I don't want to say soft, but I think a lot of them love the appreciation, right? They love the attention from fans. So if you give them just one more thing to go after, they'll go after it, and then they'll be like, they'll post a picture with the thing acting like Kobe. I don't know.
No, you
Isn't that what Kobe or what
The
Tatum did
Kuzma.
with the
No,
Eastern
Kuzma.
Conference trophy?
It was Kyle Kuzma.
It was Kuzma. Okay.
Yeah, Kuzma recreated that pick in the bubble.
You make a lot of good points, though. I think the in-season tournament gives a lot of players an opportunity to show who they are and to go out there and hoop with all the eyes on them. And I think this might be an underrated aspect that I haven't really considered, but maybe like these playoff atmospheres help younger guys with less playoff experience, just like maybe getting a feel for how a playoff atmosphere is. Maybe a little bit. I don't because they play pretty damn hard. So I assume it's similar. I could be wrong. I'm not in the NBA from
Love
what
that
I
point.
see. Also, one more thing before you go, Daniel, that I wanted to make before you forget. I wanted to say that it was very scary watching the Celtics play all five of their starters with 2 minutes left up by 30. That's some Derrick Rose shit, bro. Like if something goes wrong in garbage time, like that's the season. So that was really scary watching those last few minutes with Jaylen Brown still like hopping up for offensive rebounds and stuff. Like you come down on someone's ankle, it's wraps. And it's in garbage time. It was an unneeded injury. So that's something to pitch in there too.
Yeah,
I
they needed that point differential, though. They needed to win by at least 23. So that's why they were in. Because if they were up 30 and the team scored 8 more points, boom, they need to score more points after that. So that's why they did that.
I just wanted to say, yeah, no, the great thing about what you said with the younger players is that a lot of those guys, if they're coming from college, they probably were just in the March Madness bracket, which probably is very similar to not very similar, but the different court style, the fact that it's a bracket, all that probably just makes sense to them, and it probably gives them a sense of a comfortable kind of nature to help them play a little bit better, maybe. It's an interesting point.
All right, so I got two players, and I'm gonna give you guys their stats only, and you guys are gonna have to pick who you guys would rather have based off that. So for the first player, 23.4 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists per game. Player two is 21.9 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game.
I think I'm going to go with player one here. He averages more points. The gap between rebounds and assists between the two players isn't that far, and they do shoot better from the field. So I believe I'm going to go with player one here, whoever it is. I hope it's not like Julius Randle.
All I'm saying is player two at 34.4%. That's a player who shouldn't be taking threes. So I hope it's not someone who I hope it's not someone who shoots like 11 a game and just like isn't hitting right now, but that shit's not like Lillard, is it? I hope that's not Lillard, but I'm gonna go player one for the same reason as Kev. You pretty much wrapped it up.
Yeah, I mean,
This
I'm
is
gonna
what
go
Victor
player.
wants.
I'm gonna go player one as well. It is what Victor wants because he's
It
gonna be
is what
like
Victor wants.
he's gonna be
He's
like
laughing.
player two's actually Giannis. You guys, like you're idiots. But no, yeah, I think the clear cut answer here is number one. I think these are definitely both. It's hard to say. I almost want to say these are wing players, but they're. I don't think they are.
This is current, right? This isn't all time. This is
Yes,
just
this
current.
is current.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, that I believe. Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna go with player one for obvious reasons, like Kevin and him said, higher 3-point shooting, higher field goal percentage, and more efficient at the free throw line. Who this is, very curious.
All right,
All right, dish it.
so player one is Jeremy Grant, and player two, this is why I was laughing, because it's fucking Jaylen Brown. And then
Jeremy Grant and Jaylen Brown. Hey, you know what?
because
Hey,
I
Jaylen Brown's
don't-
a shooting guard.
don't-
What are you talking about? Small
I
forward,
don't.
bro.
He said shooting guards.
He said he
I meant-
changed
I-
it to
I
small
meant-
forwards.
I meant like one of them small forward, one of them shooting guards.
Word. Honestly, I'm gonna stick with my pick here because if I have Jaylen Brown, I gotta pay him $300 million, and I ain't fucking doing that.
You gave me a fucking. I mean, Jeremy Grant's not a shitter, but he's on a shitter team. Empty ass stats.
I'm gonna say here, I think I would change my answer knowing the player. I would go to Jaylen Brown. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think the only reason why Jaylen Brown's numbers aren't a lot higher and why he's not more well respected is just because Tatum's there. If that team was only Jaylen Brown's, I think his numbers would be a lot more efficient, and I think he'd be a lot higher of an average point scorer. So, with seeing the answer of who it is, I would say Jaylen Brown.
That's ironic because I have a back of my mind argument that Jaylen Brown scores more with Tatum because Tatum has all the gravity, which makes it easier for Jaylen Brown to score. Also, Drew Holiday and Tingus Pingus being there, I think his stats are smaller because he's just sharing the ball with more people than Tatum now. Because now he has Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis too. And I mean, Derek White chucks, but he hits. So like Derek White, I guess you could throw in there as well.
Derek
Yeah,
White is a nuisance. I love him.
That was
He's
a fun
good,
one.
dude.
He is.
That was a fun one for me just because I know you're a Celtics fan, and just with Jaylen Brown, I just thought that was a good one. But all right, so here's number two. So player one has 23.7 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, 1.1 assists per game. He is a power forward. Player two is a center, and he's 20.9 points per game, 9.1 rebounds per game, 5.7 assists per game.
I think I'm gonna go with player two here. The points per game isn't that far off, and I feel like they can do a little bit more on the court with their rebounds and their assists. So I think I'm gonna go with player two here. But I think I might know who player one and two are. I'm gonna keep those players in my mind, and I'm gonna say them after you say them. I won't have a LeBron cap moment, I promise. But I'm gonna go with player two here.
He says
I also have an idea of who it is, but I already said one, but I'll wait till after. I'm gonna go. Yet. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go player one. I kind of like player one. I feel like he can 38% from three, pretty solid shooter, can stretch the floor, especially as a four. I think that's something notable.
Good
He can
free throw
rebound.
line.
Yeah, I'm gonna go player one.
I'm also gonna go player one, purely because just from looking at the stats, it seems like this is most likely another. Wait, oh, you said this is a power forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous about picking player one because I think this is Kyle Kuzma. Or no, would it be two? No, this looks like him. Anyway,
One's not Kuzma.
I think I'm gonna go number one, just because of the free throw as well as the rebounds, and he just seems like a solid player. I mean,
Player two averages more rebounds than player one.
What?
You said you're gonna go player one because free throws and rebounds, but player two averages more rebounds.
Well, I meant higher percentage of the free throw, and then I just meant that he's averaging a decent amount. I mean, he's only 0.4 off of player two, so to me, relative to what they're doing, they're kind of the same. Although player two does have more assists, so maybe he's contributing more. Yeah, I'm also gonna say player one for my pick, and then I'm also gonna send in the group chat what I think it is.
Could we say it
Alright.
before you reveal who it is, who we think?
All right, yeah, really quick.
Okay, you two think it's Kuzma for number one.
I think it's Kuzma and Claxton, but I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong.
No, I think I think player 1 is Lowry Markkinen and player 2 is Alperen Şengün.
Wow, spot on, bro.
Let's go, y'all. Ooh, I know my
Damn.
shit, bro. Let's fucking go.
Damn.
You know what that is?
Wow.
That's fucking. That just shows how much I gamble. Because
Nah.
these lines look way too familiar, bro. I was like, I know exactly who these two players are, bro.
I
I know
should have known,
exactly.
bro. Victor's got a soft spot for Şengün, bro. I swear,
let's
he'd be
fucking
putting
go.
Did you
Şengün
say
in hella shit.
Claxton?
I did say Claxton.
And I'm gonna stay with my pick for player number 2 because Şengün is the next Jokic.
Baby
No,
Jokic, you're calling him.
Sabonis.
yep.
Sabonis is above him for closest to Jokic first. It goes Jokic, mid tier, Sabonis, then it's Şengün.
No, because Şengün does that little one-legged, opposite-legged jumper that Jokic does, and he's from the same part of the world. So
You would really take Şengün over Markkinen right now?
right now, I don't know. For future purposes, I'd probably go Şengün.
Damn.
You are
Look what
betting
he's-
too much if you got money on Lauri Markkinen.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a good guess. Holy shit.
No,
I
can't
knew
believe
he
it.
knew who it was too. I just
I
had a
knew
feeling.
for
I
a-
can't believe
I
that. That's
fucking knew it,
insane.
bro. I knew it.
All right, so for the third and final players to choose from, we got the first player averaging 21.8 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game, and the second player is 23.6 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. I realize I flopped those.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm going number 1.
I'm gonna piggyback off that too. I feel like player number 1 here can offer me a little bit more on the court than player number 2 can. So no,
Are they the same position?
No.
Okay.
Wait, are you guys picking in the order that he set them, or the order that it is on the thing?
order he set them.
Oh,
Order he said them? I'm going player number 2. Sorry. I'm doing the first one or the second one he said. I'm going player number 2.
I'm going the
All right.
first one he said. So
So the
one that-
21.8.
yes,
Okay.
And Kevin, you're going which one?
21.8.
Miles?
I'm going 23.6.
All right. So the 23.6 was Desmond Bain, and then the 21.8 points per game was Mikal Bridges.
Oh, let's go.
Bro,
I'd rather
he
have-
wants us to pick. You got to switch one so where the better stats is actually the better player one time.
Nah, that's the point of the
That's-
game. Nah,
yeah,
you
that's
did
the
that shit
point.
good. Fuck them. They just don't know ball.
For real.
You want me to pick the worst player? You want me to pick the player with the worst stats every time?
You got to think about it, bro.
There's no thinking when they're all just the worst. The worst stats
But
is the better player.
You got to compare. You're not comparing.
That's crazy.
yeah, and you can't really make an argument for that because both players have like advantages and disadvantages. The only thing
Yeah.
that really is like usually higher is the points per game.
Bastards.
So, as everybody knows, the Clippers have been off to a rough and rocky start ever since they have acquired James Harden, and it has been continuing ever since. But I saw a chart the other day. It said every team in the NBA's biggest mistake since 2013. And the one for the Clippers was trading for Paul George. And I kind of agree with this one in a way, because looking at what the Clippers gave up in order to get Paul George. So in this trade, the Clippers received Paul George. That's it. The Thunder acquired SGA, Danilo Gallinari, a first-round pick in 2022 from the Clippers, a first-round pick in 2024 from the Clippers, a first-round pick in 2026 from the Clippers, and a 2021 first-round pick in Miami, as well as a 2023 first-round pick lottery projected for Miami, 2023 first-round pick from LA, and a 2025 first-round pick from the LA Clippers as well, both of them having right to pick swaps. So they got a lot of picks in this exchange, which I feel like made up a majority of the future picks that the Thunder have. Yeah, I think they have 35 first-round picks the next 2 years, something like that.
Getting ready to draft that 7th grader.
Yeah,
to
no,
save the
Yeah.
franchise.
and we talked about that a very long time ago in the podcast. For those loyal fans who probably know what we're talking about, but most of them probably have no idea what we're talking about. But just looking at what they gave up, I don't think this is a horrible take at all. I mean, they acquired Kawhi Leonard in that same offseason free agency. Maybe this could have opened up the space a little bit more for the Clippers, or maybe had them make a more reasonable trade with the assets that they had. I mean, they clearly didn't know what Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was going to become when they first traded him, because they did send him away for Paul George. And at the time, Paul George, one of the years on the Thunder, he was a third place runner up for MVP one of the years. So at the time, it made sense. But looking back at it now, it's like, oh shit, maybe we could have worked this a little bit better.
See, I think anytime you're an organization and you're gonna give up how many players was that in total? How many picks and like players
2,
total?
3, 4, 9, a 9 for 1.
So a 9 for 1.
Fuck.
When you put it in terms of like that, I just think it's a ridiculous trade. Like, I understand why the Clippers did that. They wanted to satisfy Kawhi during that time. They wanted to make him happy. That was one of the all-stars that he wanted to play alongside with. But I just feel like whenever you do a trade that is more than 5 players for one player, I just think it's just you're losing at that point. And we did see that the Clippers, they didn't win a championship since then. And there are lots of reasons for that, but we don't have to get into that. But like I said, I think anytime you do a trade for that many players for one, it's just not going to work. I'd rather take the picks over that one player.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. When the Clippers made this trade, clearly they were thinking, let's win right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it definitely looked good for that at the start of the 2020 season or 2019 season. They had just acquired Kawhi. They had some other pieces and assets. So that trade was solely based off let's win now and kind of send off these younger guys for MVP caliber type player at the time.
I do agree with Vic. The 9 for 1 is an absurd amount looking back, but I'll be the guy to say it. Hindsight's 2020. This guy's an MVP candidate, and you have Kawhi Leonard coming off his championship run. I'm not going to say it isn't the worst decision the Clippers ever made, but at the time, there was no doubt in my mind that was a good move. And without looking at it subjectively with hindsight, I still think that pairing the best player in the league, Kawhi Leonard, with MVP candidate Paul George, recent MVP candidate Paul George, I think at the time that was a good move. It's just
no, at the time, yeah, obviously it was a good move, but looking back at it now, obviously, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, they didn't know what SGA was going to become and who those draft picks were going to come out of. So yeah, at the time they were probably like, yeah, fuck it, like we're going to 100% do that. We're in a win now scenario. We have Kawhi coming fresh off of the championship. Why not bring another MVP at the time, MVP type caliber player to the team? It's kind of just like I brought this up as like a looking back, like a flashback. Was this smart? And to me, however many years later that was, the answer is no.
What's kind of mind-boggling to me, I don't know if it is for you guys at all, was thinking about how like it did not feel that long ago that trade would happened. And for me, hearing that like some 4 years ago, that just seems like such a long time ago. I agree with every point. I agree with every point. Paul George coming off of an MVP candidate type of season, as well as Kawhi Leonard just being who Kawhi Leonard is, I think was a match made in heaven. And most people had high expectations for it. But that was also, I think, the end of the Warriors dynasty, right, too?
I don't think the Warriors dynasty was ever like truly over. I think they just had
Yeah.
one bad year. And they
Yeah.
were right back to
'Cause
being contenders and winning.
That same offseason, KD did go to Brooklyn. And, that's when we gave Kawhi the title as a dynasty slayer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of things seem to just be in place for them to have a really great season. And like it did for many people, I guess COVID just kind of put a thumper in that for a little bit because yeah, I mean, when I look back at like just what was going on in the season, there was so much mix-ups and like looking back, if we knew what every team was going to turn out to, which was not really anything, I think Clippers would have made the most sense, but it's unfortunate that they couldn't get there.
But I mean, realistically, like I understand why organizations do this when they want to win that championship now. But I feel like a lot of times we see this fail almost, you know?
I feel like trading for Harden was a worse decision than trading for Paul George. I feel like just this recent Harden trade, giving up another pick to bring in James Harden is worse because looking at it now, it's bad. And there's no doubt in my mind that it will be bad in the future as well. So
I think picking up Westbrook was their worst decision.
all right.
I mean,
Hold on. He played good before Harden got there. He was not a bad player. Also, he's on a minimum contract. If they were paying him the same amount the Lakers did, yes. But he's on a min contract. So it's not terrible.
True.
Daniel,
I should
are you
mention
all right,
though.
man?
What?
I mean, you're not defending Westbrook? Like
I know. Well, because I mean, I'll say this,
It's
right?
snowing.
I think
Yeah.
I don't know, that Clippers team, man, it just very quickly it became a graveyard for stars that are maybe a little bit past their prime. Like just out of nowhere, it seems like. In the blink of an eye, all these MVP players became the Clippers, and now it's just, kind of a sucky situation, I think, if you're a fan of them, because it's great to watch them play and it's great to have high hopes, but they're just out there playing iso ball, and it's almost like they don't even really want to win anything collectively as a team. But obviously they do. It's just that's the kind of mindset that I see when I watch them.
I have one rebuttal. Harden cooked
But
Wemby. Harden cooked Wemby, bro. They're
I heard about
back.
that. He
They're
said
so
they're back.
back.
They're so back.
They're
saw that
so
shit
back.
everywhere.
He
should-
did the little.
I
They
should
beat
add
the
though.
Spurs twice. Everyone thought they were ready after
Yeah,
two
that
Spurs
was-
wins.
We're gonna
That
have
was
to
a little
bring back the
ridiculous.
Wemby commute talks because
No, please. Please spare us
Yeah.
from the Wemby talks.
Yeah. I should add though. Last night the Clippers did play the Denver Nuggets last night, and the Denver Nuggets were Jamal Murray-less and Nikola Jokic-less, and they still fucking lost. And everyone for the Clippers was still playing. Let me give you Paul George stats for the game.
Reggie Jackson.
let me guess.
Where's Paul though? In 37 minutes, he put up 6 points, 3 turnovers, 2 for 13 from the field, 0 for 4 from the 3. Tough.
I'm glad to see Playoff P showed up.
Where's Paul though? He fucked himself so
Pandemic
bad with
P.
that Halloween costume,
I
bro.
thought you were gonna surprise us and be like, but with the last 3 minutes, he shot 5 for 5 and had 30 points. Fucking
Like Tatum in that game 7. Fuck. What the fuck? Why did he cover the screen and then fucking die?
It's the equivalent to covering his mouth.
Dude, we need I swear, bro, we need a Daniel all-time moments compilation.
So to close off today's episode, we're going to be talking about a beloved NBA team, but they might be cooked. So that's my question to you guys to end off this episode. Are the Warriors cooked? Low-key, I think they're cooked, bro. I'm not going to lie. Klay's averaging the least amount of points he has ever since his rookie year. I think that contract extension that they're debating with him might be weighing on him heavy, even though he can say to the media all he wants that he doesn't pay attention to the fans, this and that. I think he definitely does because he's playing like some shit. And they blew a humongous lead last night against Sacramento, which is a team that they beat in the playoffs just last year. And we've all discussed that. If those teams,
Twice
and
this
twice
year.
this year too. And we discussed that if these two teams were to meet in the playoffs again, that Sacramento would probably run away with it because of that experience.
Can I talk about
But
that
man,
game for a bit? Sorry,
huh?
I want to talk about that game really quick. So
Yeah,
last night I was watching the Warriors Kings game. That fourth quarter was insane. Warriors could have easily won that, but they ended up losing to Malik Monk. Malik Monk took over. This dude hit a step back three. I was shook when that went in, and then the Warriors turned it over, and the Kings give the last shot to Malik Monk. In my head, I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, why does Malik Monk have the ball? This motherfucker hits a tough shot and wins the game for them. It was crazy.
He was actually in the locker room for part of that game too. He went back to the locker room with like an apparent injury. Maybe like I don't remember what it was, but he like returned to the game and did that too, which was
yeah.
nuts. Also, Steph Curry threw that turnover, which was unlike him. So yeah, man. Play of the game. What I took away, never bet on Sabonis. 15 plus points, he scored 9. Absolute no factor, like I said earlier in this podcast.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've said earlier, or I've said a few episodes ago, I believe Draymond Green is probably on his way out of the league. I think that should have happened 2 years ago, low key. But yeah, man, it's sad to see just because the Warriors have been very fun to watch for a very long time, but this age, I think it's really starting to get to them. These teams with a bunch of younger prospects are really just putting them away.
To your point, man, Draymond has lost it. He lost his damn mind this year, man. Last night,
Yes.
obviously we know what happened with the chokehold, but while we're on the topic of this game last night, Vic, since did you guys watch it or was it just Victor? Did you guys
I
did you
watched it.
guys end up watching it?
I
Did
didn't
you
watch it.
Yes.
see when he was like doing the carry motion at the ref and they teched him up and he gets all pissed and then the very next possession he just is fouling Malik Monk at the top at half court, just hacking him. Goes for like the reach around pick, gets called for a foul, and Steve Kerr literally has to sub him out. Like, bro, last night was the first time I've seen Draymond just like actually lose his cool. Like he was just playing, just screwing them over, man. It was bad. He really has lost his damn mind, I think. And I'm usually like pro Draymond, but last night it was hard to watch. He was he was selling, bro. Like for lack of a better term, he was selling.
It's
Well,
pretty tough to be pro Draymond nowadays.
did you guys see what Kenny Smith said on Draymond Green? He's like, we're at the point, if you're apologizing consistently, then you actually in the wrong. There are no more apologies. This is what, the third apology in the last 6 months. He is too good a player and too seasoned a player to keep apologizing. At 22, 23, 24 years old, you can keep apologizing, but at this stage of his career and also a champion, we should be out of this apology in this career.
I'm still pretty upset with that stomp he did to Sabonis last year too.
Yeah,
That shit does
that's
not sit right, bro. Like it's Sabonis. I see the argument that people say Sabonis like grabbed his legs first, but like I don't know, man. Watching that clip back, I don't really see that a lot. I don't see Sabonis grabbing his legs like that. And like, bro, even if he did, stomping him on his chest is just like, dude, that's fucked up.
If I had been the GM, if I could go back in time and I was in the position of the GM when Katie was considering leaving, and it was mainly because of Draymond. I mean, you can kind of curtail around the fact that it was other things, but I think that had the chemistry been right within the team, he would have stayed. And if I could go back and get rid of Draymond, I would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, I think I'm ready to say that on the Golden State Warriors, nothing. We all know this. It seems like an obvious, but I think it's becoming a lot clearer now that the reason that team is successful is Steph Curry. Again, I know that we know this, but I think the narrative beforehand was that oh, Curry obviously is the head of that team, but there's other factors. He's won with other people, but then you see him when they don't have him and you just notice such a big difference in their offense. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think overall that Curry is that guy. I don't know.
Let's be honest. Last night, Moses Moody outplayed Klay Thompson. Is anyone opposed to that
Yeah.
statement?
Hey, he was having a
I
shootout
just-
with I
He
can't
went
remember
nuts.
the
You said you
Yeah.
disagree?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I said I 100% agree.
Oh, my bad.
Moody needs more minutes, bro, for that Warriors team. I think he's
True.
definitely earned it, but it seems like the coaching staff is kind of just blind to his success at times and what he can really do out there. Really, they should really start focusing on this younger generation that they have coming up and building up their team for the next few years, because Steph, Clay, and Draymond aren't going to be around for 4+ years.
Yeah, I agree.
I wanted to add in from earlier, like what I was saying. Until that Warriors team, I think, gets a stronger big, they will not be as successful, I think, going forward. Like I don't think I don't see them winning another championship playing small ball, which isn't exactly what they're doing. But like you guys said, I mean, Moody deserves more minutes, and I do think that they should allocate a little bit more resources or make more of an effort to try to get a big that's very talented and very skilled.
I do wish that they signed Dwight Howard when those rumblings were going around. I would have liked to see Dwight back in the league, and I think that's a situation that fits him. He's like Looney. He can do pretty much what Looney does, but be a better defender and score better. Like I don't know why they didn't do that, but to bring it back to the topic at hand as Victor zooms out, I just want are the Warriors cooked? I don't think the Warriors are cooked just yet. I think Clay the last couple seasons has been off to slow starts. I don't think this is anything particularly new for him. It's a little lower, it's a little slower of a start than usual, but I think he'll come around this season. Draymond is a big issue for me, as we've just discussed. Draymond is pretty much he's kind of a no, like he's more of a cancer to this team, I think, than he is helping them at this point in his career. And obviously, I said before I'm pro Draymond. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I think Moody and Kuminga off their bench. Moody, we just saw have a big night last night. I think they're going to come around by the end of the season, be ready for playoff time. I think they're going to make the playoffs, in case anyone was wondering. But I think the last time we doubted the Warriors, they won a championship. And I learned that the hard way. I don't think they're cooked just yet. And Wiggins is finally coming around. He's also had a slow start, but he's been playing better lately. So
that reminded me, since you said about Wiggins, did you guys see that news going around about him? That he wasn't in the right conditioning shape? Huh?
Yeah, I did
He
see
wasn't
that.
in great conditioning shape, you said?
Yeah, he wasn't in great conditioning shape when the season started, and some of the Warriors front office members were not happy with that.
Mm.
Yeah, I
makes
did see that
sense.
article. They said that he hasn't been in great conditioning shape ever since he came back from the time off that he had stuff from last season. They said ever since then he's just kind of looked a little like shaky and out of it. And I definitely agree. Even though he had a phenomenal game last night, he went off, but he's been a little. I don't want to say he's playing timid, but he's not playing the way that he usually does out there for the Warriors. So I definitely believe it. I do believe Wiggins, Andrew Wiggins, Maple Mamba. I definitely do believe that he will come around. I mean, you got to remember, this dude was a former number one pick not that long ago. Yeah, how many former number one picks are still kind of, never mind, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say still relevant. There's a lot that are still relevant. But he's like the only number one pick that hasn't had like a significant injury in like the past like 10 or so years and living up to like that expectation that he has. But maybe he'll turn it around. He was very good for them that year that they won the NBA Finals. He was, I would argue, he was their second best player that year, 100% All-Star starter too. But yeah, it's not just Klay Thompson coming around. It's going to have to be Wiggins getting Moody more minutes and then finding a way to get Kuminga more in the game. That's really what the Warriors need to focus on.
They have to minimize their
They need to
turnovers too.
They need to do what that man Jerry Krause did in 1998 after the Bulls won that third championship. They're like, all right, the team's getting old. We just won a championship, but these guys aren't going to be around forever. We're going to have to blow it up. They could possibly even take that route if the
That
things
failed.
don't don't work out this year. It
That
failed
failed
once, it won't fail again.
miserably.
Yeah, but that's the Bulls franchise. The Warriors have proven they could build the team already.
Jerry Krause was the equivalent
Yeah.
of like
Let's see
Pearl
how
Harbor
good
for
this.
Chicago.
Let's see how good the build goes in 4 years when none of those guys are there anymore.
Anyway, y'all, that's going to wrap it up for this week's Good Morning Let's Basketball episode. Thank you all for continuing to tune into season 2 and clicking on our other videos that we post on this channel. The support's been great. Keep viewing those reels. And if you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. As always, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, make sure to rate and comment. It helps us out a tremendous amount. And we see by our analytics that a lot of our viewers aren't subscribed. So it always helps to see them, the subscriber numbers go up. Supports us a lot. As always, thank you to Fat Dan's supporting our channel with the Jumbo Wings deal. If you've made it to the end of the video, comment down below Fat Dan's $10 gift card for a chance to win a $10 gift card to our favorite wing stop. And as always, keep it real. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.